Greetings in Megacast. I'm Tyler Keith in the studios of our flagship stations, Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. In addition, today, as always, we're on Birmingham Area Municipal Access. You can find you can find that channel as well as Civic Center TV and City Cable 15 of Southfield on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99. Find us on Channel 10 as well in Waterford on the Media Network of Waterford, and in Orion Township and Lake Orion on Orion Neighborhood Television. You can also join us on the radio in the Birmingham, Bloomfield, and Troy areas on 88.1 WBFH, the BIF, a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District. Find us online, facebook.com/CivicCenterTV15 and facebook.com/LakesFM, as well as on our website, CivicCenterTV.com, and on My Michigan TV or MyMy by visiting mymytv.com, where you can watch us live, watch our other original programming, such as Steve Leto Live as well. Find a bunch of imported programming from across the state of Michigan, all about the Great Lakes state, and learn more information about where you can download both their smart TV and their smartphone app for free, mymytv.com, or visit our website at civiccentertv.com and click on the links for any one of our partnering television, radio, and web outlets that joins us each and every day, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 noon for our live show, as well as throughout the afternoon and the weekend for replays. Find us on demand as well on CivicCenterTV.com/Megacast, where you'll find not only our full episodes, but also each individual interview, so you can pick and choose what you would like to watch from the Megacast, or if you're not able to join us for our 10 a.m. to 12 noon live shows, you can find us anytime on CivicCenterTV.com/Megacast. Also on the website, right next door to that, is our coronavirus page at CivicCenterTV.com/coronavirus, which brings you resources about COVID-19 directly from experts at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division, so you can stay up to date on everything that you need to know about COVID-19, about the Delta variant, the Omicron variant, the spread of cases in our local community, in our state, and across the country and the world, precautionary measures that you can take, how to do so effectively, and in what situations to implement certain measures versus others, or in combination with the others, and of course, learn as much information as you need to know on vaccines, on booster shots, and more, and find appointments for all of those as well. CivicCenterTV.com/coronavirus. And then under those links, you'll also find our top stories each and every day as we scour a number of different journalistic outlets from all across the state of Michigan to bring you each day's top headlines at CivicCenterTV.com/coronavirus. Today, our top story from our friends at the Detroit Free Press, Michigan's Health Department will be giving out free KN95 masks to residents. The Michigan Department of Health and Human Services is expected to give out about 10 million free KN95 masks to residents to help them protect themselves from the coronavirus and the highly transmissible Omicron variant of COVID-19. Governor Whitmer made the announcement on Thursday, with masks being distributed by community organizations, including state and local health department offices, area agency on aging offices, community action agencies, federal qualified health centers, and programs of all-inclusive care for the elderly, or PACE. For more information, you can visit michigan.gov/maskupmichigan. Some agencies will further distribute masks to local partners, such as homeless shelters, according to the website, and residents are asked to refer to the organization's websites or social media to find out about mask availability instead of calling those organizations and flooding them with phone calls. Quote, "We have the tools and we know what works as we face down the Omicron variant of COVID-19, Governor Whitmer said in a news release, continuing, "By distributing 10 million highly effective KN95 masks, we can keep families and communities safe. Together, we can keep ourselves and our loved ones safe," and closed quote. Michigan reported 13,712 new confirmed cases each day, Tuesday and Wednesday, according to state data released on Wednesday. Hospitalizations are trending down, but there are still 3,859 people, adults and children, hospitalized with confirmed cases of the virus, according to state data. MDHHS Department Director Elizabeth Hertel said officials are urging residents to protect themselves, their loved ones, and their communities. Quote, "Wearing masks are important in helping limit the spread of coronavirus, particularly the easily spread Omicron and Delta variants. Today's distribution of KN95 masks will help more Michiganders limit the spread of COVID to save lives and get back to normal sooner," and closed quote. The masks are in addition to 400 million N95 masks that are being given to adults for free by the federal government from the National Strategic Stockpile, masks that are or will be available at retailers such as Meijer, CVS, Walgreens, and Kroger. The state said Costco, Rite Aid, Walmart, and Sam's Club are also among the retailers that are going to begin free distribution of N95 masks. Meijer stores received about 3 million of those masks, but a store in Roseville had none left on Wednesday morning. A CVS store and Walgreens store, both in Detroit, did not have the free N95 masks yet as of Thursday. The federal government is also shipping 4 free at-home antigen COVID-19 tests to households that have signed up at covidtests.gov. That link, as well as the link for organizations that have KN95 masks to distribute from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, both listed in this Detroit Free Press article on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Excuse me. Next, making headlines at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. From the Detroit News, the Michigan House of Representatives has floated a $185 million spending bill for entertainment venues and fitness centers that voted 96-6 to push through this $184.6 million supplemental spending bill that would benefit convention and visitors bureaus, restaurants, and fitness centers forced to shut down during the pandemic. The supplemental uses federal COVID-19 funds to finance a variety of business. Lawmakers argued that were hit hardest and stayed closed the longest during the pandemic. Quote, these businesses were prohibited by the government from operating and generating revenue during the pandemic, said Thomas Albert, a Republican from Lowell, the bill's sponsor and chairman of the House Appropriations Committee. While the funds largely support businesses, a large chunk of the money would go toward bills passed by the House that would forgive certain licensing fees for occupations stressed or shut down by the pandemic. The bills were passed by the House in June but have yet to pass in the state Senate. Quote, this package and the funding that Representative Albert's bill would provide for it is a chance to right the wrong of asking businesses to pay for the right to operate without actually being given the chance to operate during 2020 and 2021's shutdown orders, said Representative Andrew Fink, a Republican from Hillsdale, to the House Appropriations Committee on Wednesday. Several industry groups testified in support of the bill on Wednesday, arguing entertainment venues, fitness centers, convention and visitors bureaus were hardest hit by the pandemic. Among those testifying was Alyssa Tushman, the vice chair for the Michigan Fitness Club Association, who had to close 2 of 3 of her facilities during the pandemic. The association estimated more than 30% of Michigan gyms and fitness centers closed since the beginning of the pandemic. Quote, not only did I lose 2 facilities, but I'm being sued by my landlords, Tushman said on Wednesday, continuing, there were no protections in place for commercial tenants while there were for residential tenants. This industry is a mess, end closed quote. The bill approved Wednesday would allocate $30 million to the Michigan Association of Convention and Visitor Bureaus to give the individual convention groups whose budgets largely depend on bed taxes or assessments on hotels, which struggled during the pandemic. Another $53 million will be distributed to health and fitness industry businesses through the Department of Treasury. The grants would be capped at $250,000 per physical location and equal to the demonstrated financial hardship related to the pandemic. Another $25 million would benefit, quote, community development financial institutions, and closed quote, to support community revitalization and development. Grants would range from $1 million to $8 million, depending on the group's assets and commitments. Another $18 million would be given to movie theaters that can, quote, show a significant hardship, and closed quote. As a result of COVID-19, grants would be capped at $15,000 per screen and would need to be used for payroll, rent, mortgage, or utilities. Another $10 million would be awarded to restaurants to aid in the training of servers. The grant would be distributed through the Michigan Licensed Beverage Association. The bill also allocated $6.5 million to, quote, stages survival grants, and closed quote, for live music, entertainment venues, and promoters that experienced, quote-unquote, significant financial hardship because of the pandemic. The grants are capped at $100,000 and must be used to support payroll, rent, mortgages, or utilities. The fund excludes large entertainment venues in Detroit. The supplemental also deposits $42.1 million into the Department of Treasury to pay for fee cuts for certain licensees and businesses under separate House bills that have yet to pass through the Senate. Those proposed cuts include health occupations licensing fees, skilled trades fees, and occupational code fees, as well as Liquor Control Commission fees as well. Full articles on this bill, as well as supporting materials from the Detroit News on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, where our last headline today from MLive warns of possible meningitis exposure are issued after positive person attends fraternity events both at Michigan and Michigan State. Health officials have issued an exposure advisory after a person was diagnosed with meningitis days after attending two fraternity-sponsored events at the University of Michigan and Michigan State University. Washtenaw County Health Department leaders issued the advisory on Thursday, January 27th, after a confirmed case of meningitis was reported to them a day earlier. Health officials said that the person attended an event at the Delta Kappa Epsilon residence at 800 Oxford Road in Ann Arbor from 10:30 p.m. to midnight on Thursday, January 20th. The person was also in East Lansing on Saturday, January 22nd, and attended an off-campus ticketed event hosted by Sigma Beta Rho at Club Rush on 131 Albert Avenue. Health officials did not state an exact time the event had occurred. Any person who attended those events, however, and especially during the time the diagnosed person was there, should receive antibiotic treatment to prevent possible disease, according to the Washtenaw Health Department and the Ingham County Health Department as well there in East Lansing. Quote, "This is not an outbreak and risk to the larger community remains low, but meningococcal meningitis is a very serious illness," said Juan Luis Marquez, MD, medical director with the Washtenaw County Health Department in a written statement. Continuing on, quote, "We are working as quickly and collaboratively as possible to provide information and treatment options to anyone with potential and direct exposure to the known case," and closed quote. Symptoms of meningococcal meningitis include sudden onset of fever, headache, stiff neck, vomiting, rash, or confusion. Anyone with those symptoms should seek medical help immediately. Health officials say meningitis can be diagnosed and then treated with several antibiotics. According to the health department, meningitis is spread through contact with the infected person's oral or nasal secretions, meaning saliva or mucus. Close contacts are those who have been coughed who have been coughed on or sneezed on, kissed, shared the same food, eating or drinking utensils, or been in a crowded space with poor ventilation with an infected individual. For the University of Michigan students who think they may have been exposed, health officials ask that they notify the University Health Services by completing their online form, which is linked in this article, both on our website at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, as well as in this article from MLive, which you can access by clicking either the headline or the thumbnail picture just to the left of this article on our website at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. We have a great show ahead of you today on this Friday edition of the Megacast. Coming up next, we'll have Anna Sterner, the Director of Programs at the Michigan Science Center, joining us on the show. At the bottom of the hour, Damany Head, the Chair of the Pontiac Regional Chamber, will join us. At 11 o'clock, we'll talk Pistons basketball with MLive Media Group beat writer Lauren Williams. At 11:20, Tomcsik Husak, the President and CEO of Detroit Chamber of Commerce, will join us on the show, and we'll cap off this week's editions of the Megacast with Kristie King, the Association Executive of the Senior Regional Collaborative of Southeast Michigan. That's all coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit, or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council,
we work together to protect water resources for everyone.
Most of the pollution entering our rivers is carried by rainwater that runs off roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
a rain garden helps catch stormwater runoff.
Rain gardens and their plants Help dirty runoff soak into the ground.
You can do your part to help keep our water clean.
Learn about rain gardens and native plants.
So consider a rain garden in your home landscaping.
Catch the runoff with a rain garden.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you.
Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation.
Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanted to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is the source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. You can learn more information about our show by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast. Joining me now is the Director of Programs at the Michigan Science Center, Anna Sterner, back with us once again on the Megacast. Anna, thank you for being with us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So I got some exciting events that are coming up fairly soon here, or are already ongoing over there at the Michigan Science Center. What are some of the cool things that are going on over there at this time if people want to stop by and visit?
Yeah, well, we are open to the public. We are really excited that since the holiday break, there's been so many people starting to join us for school field trips, and especially coming on the weekends, especially when the weather starts to get a little bit colder and you're looking for something fun to do. The Michigan Science Center has all sorts of different activities, exhibits, and shows that you can come check out. There's always something new going on. We'll be previewing a new movie in our 4D theater next month, and so that'll be very, very exciting. And this month, all month long, we are celebrating a theme that we call Arctic Expeditions. So since it's pretty cold outside, we've come up with some different fun hands-on activities that explain the science behind scientists who actually explore these different Arctic landscapes and some of the research and tools that they use while they're there.
And so the Michigan Science Center is celebrating its 10th anniversary here in 2022, all year long with some special events, including films, live shows, and more. What are some of the things that people can expect to experience this year in that celebration of 10 years of the Michigan Science Center?
Yeah, we're calling this year our 10th birthday for sure. Anniversary is a great word, but we really want it to feel like a party here all the time. So the Michigan Science Center, as always, we have those live stage shows, which are included with your general admission. And so on our main stage, you can see large-scale demonstrations about physics and chemistry and engineering. And really what we want to focus on this year is inspiring people to feel like they are truly at the center of science when they are here at the Michigan Science Center. So we talk a lot about scientists that come right here from Detroit and people who are innovating in all different sorts of fields of science, because we really want people to know that science is important no matter what you want to do. We want young people to feel like they are scientists while they're here. So we have all sorts of things for them to explore. This month, we're talking about adaptations when we talk about Arctic science. So we're talking about animals. So we don't have live animals here, but we do want to talk about how science is important when we are studying new animals that we discover here on Earth. And then talking about what Arctic climates might be like on other planets as well. So there's always a little bit of everything, but like we said, there are new shows that preview throughout the course of a year, and some of those are included with our general admission, and some of those are in our paid theaters, like our 4D theater and our IMAX Dome theater, which is on our lowest level.
So we're joined by Anna Sterner, Director of Programs at the Michigan Science Center, joining us on the Megacast. You can learn more by visiting mi-sci.org or my-sci.org to learn more about all their programs and register for some of these events as well. And so you mentioned some of the theater experiences. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the ongoing theater experiences and what families can expect to learn or at least be entertained by when they visit the Michigan Science Center?
Yeah, absolutely. So currently the movie that plays in our 4D theater is called Backyard Wilderness, and it's all about nature and ecology that you can find in your own backyard, even here in Michigan. You don't have to go anywhere fancy to learn about science in your own backyard. But next month, the movie is going to be called Volcanoes, and that experience is going to be brought to us by Toyota. But up on our 4th floor is probably the most exciting thing that we have, because it won't be here for much longer, but we have a traveling exhibit that's called MathAlive. So MathAlive is an 8,000 square foot exhibit. It was brought to us by Ford and Axalta, and it's all about how you use math in your day-to-day life. We are celebrating something really exciting coming up in just about a week or so, but we are about to celebrate the kickoff of the Winter Olympics. And so inside MathAlive, there are exhibits about how scientists are involved in things like sports and how athletes are actually amazing mathematicians. So that's not something that people often think go hand in hand. A lot of times people think that you're either an athlete or an academic, but athletes truly are amazing. They use math even without thinking about it sometimes. And so we have exhibits that are about the science of snowboarding, about the science of mountain biking, and even skateboarding, because there's so much math, science, and engineering that goes into those things. And oftentimes these athletes are scientists outside of playing their sport as well.
We're joined by Anna Sterner, the Director of Programs at the Michigan Science Center, joining us on the Megacast. And you mentioned that we're just a few days away from the Winter Olympics beginning in Beijing, China. And one of the hallmarks of the Winter Olympics are those ice rink-related events, whether it be men's and women's hockey, figure skating, it's men's and women's hockey, figure skating, there's speed skating. There's a lot of different events that are going to be happening on the ice at this year's Olympics, as they do at every Winter Olympics. And so you have a demonstration actually for us about the engineering that goes into making and maintaining these ice rinks for the Olympic Games.
I do. do. So last time I came on the show, I think I was here for the Summer Olympics, and I focused a lot on the athletes, about some of the physics behind the amazing physics that really go into being an athlete, especially when it comes to things like gymnastics, people who are physically moving their bodies and kind of utilizing those principles of physics. But this time I thought I would take a little bit of a different spin, because we spend a lot of time thinking about the athletes when we focus on the Olympics, but we oftentimes forget that there is a lot of math, science, and engineering that goes into preparing for the Olympics, especially when it comes to those ice rinks. Now, there are jobs for engineers when it comes to the Olympics as well, which could be a really exciting way to use the things that you learn in school and the things that you're passionate about. But you mentioned that there are ice rinks for speed skating, for hockey, for figure skating. And what's really interesting is that all those ice surfaces are obviously made of ice, but they're actually a little bit different from each other. So ice surfaces vary in thickness and temperature depending on the sport that you play. So figure skaters actually prefer ice that's a little bit softer because they need to land on the surface of it and they don't want to trip and fall. Whereas speed skaters prefer ice that's a lot firmer because they want to fly across the surface and not lose any of their speed while they move. So I brought a demonstration that talks a little bit about the chemistry that goes into these ice rinks, because we don't actually make them out of pure water. When they are designing these ice rinks, they actually use something called a brine. So if you've ever seen a Zamboni traveling across the ice rink, maybe here where the Detroit Red Wings play, it's not just water that they pour on the surface. It's actually a mixture of water and salt. So I have a salt here, just regular old table salt, which we might know as sodium chloride. But generally, when we're talking about that brine on ice rinks, they use calcium chloride. But I chose sodium chloride for this because this is an activity that you can try at home. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the different temperature that comes into play when we use salt water versus fresh water. Now, Tyler, do you know the freezing point of just pure water?
Freezing point of pure water, I believe, is that 32 degrees?
Yes, that's exactly right. Now, if you live in Canada, maybe you're tuning in, you are very lucky because you get to say 0 degrees Celsius. But yeah, 32 degrees Fahrenheit is the freezing point of pure water. Now, when you add salt into the mix, we actually lower that freezing point. Water has to get colder in order to turn into a solid, which is good because those athletes who have a preference for their ice sometimes want it to be very cold. So, for example, speed skaters, their ice rinks are generally about 21 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's much colder than the freezing point of pure water. So to do that, we add a little bit of salt here. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to go fishing for ice cubes here. So if I take this string, which I have on, this is just a regular piece of string, and I kind of set it down on my ice cubes, you'll notice that nothing really happens. I'm just touching the ice cubes and then moving them around. But when I add a little bit of salt on top of that string, what is going to happen is that ice, which is right now frozen into a solid, is going to start to melt. Because once the salt comes into play, it needs to be much colder. Now, if we give this just a moment to kind of set, that ice is going to melt and then refreeze, which should allow me to pick up these ice cubes with the piece of string. That's why we call this activity ice fishing. This is one of those activities that if you come to the Michigan Science Center in the next few weeks, you can try this one yourself. But of course, you can also try this at home. All I have is a cup of water, some ice cubes, some string, and some sodium chloride or table salt. Now, once we lift, you'll notice that that water or that ice has refrozen, and I've actually been able to pick it up on these pieces of string here. So again, this happens because when the salt touches the ice cube, that ice melts. But the water then allows some of that salt to dissipate or travel away, and that water then refreezes at its normal freezing point of 32 degrees once it's pure water again, and it attaches itself to the string. So we love to talk about this type of stuff here at the Michigan Science Center because we may not think about how much engineering and science really goes into designing these things like ice rinks. It's important, and a lot of those athletes actually have a strong preference, and so those athletes actually become scientists and chemists themselves. They learn everything that goes into the ice rink that they're using because that's what makes them really good at their sport. So if you are interested in sports, or maybe you play a winter sport, now you know a little bit more about the science that goes into that ice itself.
We're joined by Anna Sterna, Director of Programs at the Michigan Science Center, with us on the Megacast. And so obviously you have the experiment with the ice over there, which will be critical in the operations of the Winter Olympics in Beijing this year, coming up in just a few days when that begins. Any other exhibits or experiments that will be going on at the Michigan Science Center to commemorate this year's Olympic Games over in Beijing?
Well, like we said, MathAlive is probably your best bet, and it's only here until the end of April. So it's here for a few more months, and so you definitely still have time to come check it out. If you're interested in learning about all the math that goes into some of these extreme sports, that is a great way to connect it to your real life. But there are other exhibits inside MathAlive too. So if you're not interested in sports, math still matters to you. So there are exhibits in MathAlive all about how science goes or math goes into things like fashion design or engineering or architecture. And so you can actually take a 360-degree selfie in one of our exhibits to talk about the science behind those different cameras and the math that goes into creating a 360-degree picture. And there's also math that goes into predicting things like extreme weather. And so there's a little bit of something for everybody inside MathAlive. You won't even feel like you're doing math. Like we said, it's a huge exhibit, 8,000 square feet. And so it's really fun and cool to be inside there. And we also have a math trivia game, which you can play along to. And we have that led live a few times every single day.
Well, Anna, we thank you very much for joining us and telling us more about the programs that are coming up as the Michigan Science Center celebrates its 10th birthday and as you get ready to celebrate the 2022 Winter Olympic Games in Beijing and other great programs going on over there at the Michigan Science Center. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much.
You can learn more information about the programs and register for some of those programs as well. Become a member by visiting their website at mi-sci.org. That is mi-sci.org to visit the website of the Michigan Science Center. We're going to take a break. On the other side, we'll go from the Michigan Science Center to Pontiac and speak with the head chair of the Pontiac Regional Chamber, Damany Head. He's coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
To Sofia and Gabriel. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
72.7% of high school students get less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. This can cause pain, obesity, and can very negatively affect your mental health. When you have a consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day, you get sick less often, lose more weight, and have better relationships with those around you. For more information about the dangers of sleep deprivation, go to sleepfoundation.org. This message is brought to you by the WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes. They stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Neighborhood storm drains carry water directly to local creeks and streams. No filters, no treatment.
Storm drains also help reduce street flooding when it rains.
So clearing storm drains and the areas nearby of trash and leaves helps keep them for rain only.
It is easy to do your part by adopting a storm drain.
Find a storm drain, check it, and clear it every month.
So keep storm drains for rain only.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
We as Michiganders feel connected to this resource in a way that I think is really powerful.
Conservation starts with a caring, committed community.
For me, it's peaceful to have a relationship with the river.
Every single one of us has a role to make sure that those waterways stay safe and healthy, being careful about what goes down the storm drain.
Just even eliminating some of your single-use plastic makes a difference.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Did you know that nearly 3.31 million Americans don't get their annual checkup? Going to the doctor regularly is extremely important and is a crucial factor in maintaining good health. Make sure you are visiting your local doctor often and telling them about any health concerns you have. For more information, contact your local healthcare provider. This message is brought to you by WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
211, how can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Parents do a lot of worrying. Get your kids caught up on childhood vaccines to protect them from these 14 preventable diseases, and you'll have 14 fewer things to worry about. Vaccines are safe and effective and save lives. So let's get caught up on vaccines and worry about something else. Get the facts at ivaccinate.org.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Most of the pollution that goes into our rivers is carried by rainwater that flows off of roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
The leaves and bark of a single tree can retain a surprising amount of rainwater. Depending on its size and species, it could be 100 gallons or more.
It is estimated that an urban forest can reduce annual runoff by up to 7%.
Here's one thing that we know can help keep our water clean.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. You can learn more information about our show by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast. There you'll find links to each and every one of our partnering television, radio, and web outlets, and find all of our shows and each interview on demand. civiccentertv.com/megacast. Joining us now is the chairperson of the Pontiac Regional Chamber, Damany Head, back with us again on the Megacast. Thank you for being with us today.
Hey, Tyler, how you doing?
Appreciate it. I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
Good.
Good.
Where's your co-host, man? Where's your partner in crime?
It's been a while since Ronnie has left, and so we've been doing this solo ever since then. But we're going strong.
Okay, good. Keep it going. Keep it going.
Yeah, we will. So how are things going on your side over there with the Pontiac Regional Chamber? What's going on over there in Pontiac?
Oh man, it's nothing but forward momentum. We elected new officials. There's a whole new freshman class in the city of Pontiac. Brand new mayor, Tim Greimel. Super excited about working with him. We've worked on a couple things already, some things in the works. So we're looking forward to a blockbuster year in the city of Pontiac and moving the economy forward.
And so what kind of feedback have you heard from chamber members about the ongoing pandemic and the ways that's still affecting them? Because a lot of these businesses are back in some sort of a regular motion, or they had been before the Omicron variant came in and started to spread so quickly. And a lot of people, especially around the holidays, we were noticing were getting sick, and that was really affecting businesses. So where are they at as we stand in the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yeah, I think we've seen a variety of different things. If you look in the education sector, we've seen things from the K through 12, but also the university sector and community college sector. And so, some of the things that we're experiencing is some of the K through 12 are still remote and have a remote option. So, talking to one school leader this week. And basically, he's on full remote. So his whole school is remote, and, he's just working to, increase the trust amongst parents that it's safe to come back to school, and really, have them motivated to bring their children out. I think the Omicron is definitely in communities like Pontiac, put fear in the hearts of families and parents. And school is one of those places where people congregate and are together actively a lot. So, it's a tough road to hoe in the sense of, making sure parents feel safe enough to have their students back. There's schools in session, but not 100% of students are in session with those schools. So I think that's one of the areas. Unfortunately, on the restaurant side, we've seen a couple restaurants not be able to make it through the pandemic, and that's unfortunate. And I wish them the best, but we still got to keep moving forward. And closing restaurants is nothing new to the business industry. That happens. 3 to 5 years is generally a good stint, and you see changeover. And some of those people didn't make it that 3 to 5 years, but we're seeing opportunities for new restaurants to open in the city of Pontiac. And then kind of more broadly, we're seeing business owners who are, still precautionary, right? Like the larger businesses are still precautionary, and they're not doing public events. They're still on Zoom and remote. There's some businesses that are expecting to get back in the office maybe in April if all things are going the way they hope they go. But I also think, you're seeing businesses realize they may stay remote forever. So, it's made a difference in how people operate their business and how they will probably operate their businesses going forward.
We're joined by Damany Head, the chairperson of the Pontiac Regional Chamber, with us on the Megacast. And so we spoke with the president and CEO of the Michigan Chamber of Commerce earlier this week, and he mentioned that on the staffing front, we're starting to see some improvement in those jobs being filled, and certainly still seeing that job availability in Pontiac. You mentioned some of the restaurants still having some issues filling those positions, but a lot of these new businesses that have either moved into Pontiac or have just opened in Pontiac, how are they faring in filling some of their open positions, especially in places that have exciting opportunities like the Amazon plant down there?
Yeah, I think, you're going to see a turnover, in the Amazon plant. I know people who've joined that organization specifically. And, some of them are, it's not built for, they're not built for that, right? And so I think, Amazon's doing a great job of connecting our community to job opportunities, which I think is great. And it's, changing the market in the sense of, they're offering $18 to $20 an hour plus bonuses. And I think that's, in some ways helping push the, value of employment up in the community. I think, partly what, they're doing is using their branding across the community, across the nation, across the world to help motivate people to come work there. And I think, we need to take notes from them on how to make sure workforce development pipeline stays strong and make sure that people can find appropriate work for themselves.
We're joined by Damany Head, the chairperson of the Pontiac Regional Chamber, with us on the Megacast. And so one of the great things about our local chambers of commerce and more regional chambers of commerce as well are those events and those mixers, those communication and networking opportunities that are available for businesses, especially now where collaboration has become so critical to the future of individual businesses and of our business communities as well. And so every other Friday, including today, you hold the PRC Virtual Rise and Grind Coffee and Networking event. Can you tell us about those events and how both chamber members and other businesses can join in?
Yeah, so we have a number of opportunities that are weekly, monthly, some annually. Rise and Grind is a weekly opportunity for business owners to come in and work on relational and transactional referrals to each other. Just today, we had 3 organizations that were in education and finance and talking about how to, support families in financing post K-12 education or college or community college. We have the Pontiac Promise Zone ran by Coco Mulder, and there's Carnav Group, which is run by Carlton Jones, which talk about how to get career opportunities to young people. How do we interface with families to work on there? And, Tyler, one of the things that I think we have to keep considering, the building block of every community is the family structure, the single family household. That is one of the building blocks. And so, one of the things we focus on at the chamber is like, okay, if the family is the building block, how can we better serve those families and connect them to the resources and businesses that they need to be connected to? So we actually have a ribbon cutting coming up February 1st with eCommunity Services. So eCommunity Services is a business that really focuses on supporting families and making sure families have everything they need. And, our goal with them is to make sure we're connecting local business owners who might have products or resources or services that they might need. So that's beyond the nonprofit, right? Because people do have dollars to spend, and 60% of GDP is consumer spending. So our goal at the chamber is to make sure, on Fridays at that meeting, we're connecting businesses, whether they're retail, nonprofit, for-profit, or service-based businesses, to local community families and local businesses. So B2B and B2C are really the name of the game in that meeting. And our goal is to make sure you have the transactional and relational referrals that you need to actually create the revenue you want to create year to year.
So you mentioned you mentioned a ribbon cutting for one of the many new businesses that's moved into Pontiac, which is more and more of our time becoming a destination for businesses that are opening or for businesses that are looking to relocate to a new location. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the other businesses that have recently opened in Pontiac or maybe opening soon that people should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, as many people know, United Wholesale Mortgage is here, and we're expecting to see more of that type of company move into Pontiac. Over the last year, we've seen eCommunity Services move in. We've seen an expansion in business for the Center for Success. There's a really great organization called Tangico, which has been in the city of Pontiac. We're seeing other businesses move in to the city of Pontiac in large. Turnus Packaging, which moved in last year, really great company, 56-year-old family-owned company. So we're seeing those types of organizations move into Pontiac, and we're excited about that. We had a couple health-related businesses move into the downtown which is really great. So a couple first aid, cool sculpting, holistic medicine move into the downtown. So we're excited about those small businesses, coming out and moving in.
We're joined by Damany Head, the chair of the Pontiac Regional Chamber, joining us on the Megacast. You can learn more information about the chamber as well as their upcoming events and different programs by visiting their website at pontiacrc.com. And so, Damany, you have some exciting and informative events coming up very soon. On February 15th from 5:45 until 8 p.m., you'll be holding your Courage in Our Stories African American Read-In. That will be a virtual event via Zoom or in person at the Prospect Missionary Baptist Church on Prospect Street in Pontiac. Can you tell us a little bit about that event, what people can expect to experience at this event?
Yeah, special shout out to Reverend McDonald and Ashlyn Curry for teaming up with our coordinator, Alexis McDonald from the Pontiac United Education Coalition for Pontiac Reads. It's one of our programs that is really focused on literacy, but also cultural diversity. So Oakland ISD, which is the Oakland Schools, is partnering with the Pontiac Regional Chamber and Reverend McDonald at Prospect Missionary Baptist Church to talk to students about being authors and sharing the stories of authors and illustrators to incite or ignite students and the possibility of them being an author or illustrator. So it's a really great opportunity for families to come together and listen to an author and illustrator talk about how they do the creative process, which I think is, for anyone, right? It's no matter what your cultural or ethnic diversity is. And so we're really excited that we have these types of opportunities to share those types of stories. And I think, as we, keep moving into this digital environment, like the artistic and the creative side is a really great opportunity for Southeast Michigan and Oakland County to consider how can they, build businesses that are more on the creative and artistic side. And we're excited about that kind of movement that's happening in Pontiac with, companies like MK Felts, which design products out of natural fibers and host classes for people across Oakland County to participate in.
Damany, just another couple of minutes with you before we'll say goodbye today. Anything else at this time that we should be keeping a lookout for in the future with the Pontiac Regional Chamber, or any other information you'd like to discuss today?
Yeah, so we're hosting our annual event, which is called Prosperity Pontiac. We're looking forward to Tim Grimo speaking at this event. Also, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce will be speaking at this event. We'll be sharing our strategic plan for the city of Pontiac at that event as well. So our board members from General Motors, All Construction, Flagstar Bank. So those are people that you can come network with, have a conversation with if you're interested in doing business in the city of Pontiac. We have a great number of businesses that are looking to do business with other people. We're also excited about the work we're doing in recycling and sustainability. We're partnered with Next Cycle Michigan, which is the governor's program to expand sustainability and recycling. And we just see that as a future opportunity that makes a lot of sense for us. We're also excited about what's happening in Lake Orion with the the truck coming in being manufactured. GM is one of our board members at the Pontiac Regional Chamber, so we know we're excited to build partnership with Orion Township and see how we can all work together cooperatively to expand on that $4 billion economic development.
Damany, thank you very much for joining us, telling us more about what's going on in the Pontiac business community, talking about the status of the community as it regards to COVID-19, and previewing some of these exciting upcoming events.
Absolutely. And March 30th is our annual event, and we look forward to hosting and seeing people there.
You can learn more about that March 30th event and other events and programs through the Pontiac Regional Chamber by visiting their website at pontiacrc.com. We're going to take a break on your radio homes for the Megacast 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. On the other side of the break, we'll kick off the second hour of the show talking about the Detroit Pistons, still at the bottom of the standings in the Eastern Conference of the NBA, one of the two worst records in the entire National Basketball Association. organization, but still a lot of buzz around the team with the surging rookie Cade Cunningham, as well as where we stand with the future of Jeremy Grant on that team with the trade deadline just several days away at this point, coming up on February 10th. We'll be joined by Lauren Williams, Pistons beat writer with MLive Media Group, coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different. One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games? Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Pistons have played 46 regular season games this year in the National Basketball Association. They currently stand at 11 wins on the season, the second worst record in the NBA, only behind the Orlando Magic, also in the Eastern Conference. Just finished up a Western Conference road trip, which they won 1 out of their 4 games. That game, of course, against the Sacramento Kings. To talk about the state of the Pistons at this time, also as we approach the trade deadline and rumors already flowing around the Detroit Pistons, particularly around Jeremy Grant. We're joined now, once again, by Lauren Williams, Pistons beat writer at MLive.com. Lauren, thank you for being back with us.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So, obviously the record for the Pistons is disappointing. You're looking to have see a little bit of improvement in the team from the previous year in the record books, but it's a very similar state that this Pistons squad is currently in to a year ago. Developing their young guys, they're going to lose a lot of these games. Kind of bring in these vets to keep them somewhat competitive and to help them develop these younger guys and develop some of the and obtain some of these assets that can potentially bring in pieces later on down the road. But particularly, the recent games have been quite the struggle. Part of that's because they're playing very competitive teams from the Western Conference, but particularly in these last 5 games and really over this 4-game Western road trip, what's your assessment of where this Pistons team is at this point in the season?
Honestly, I think where they are right now is kind of where a lot of people expected them to be. Obviously, they added Cade Cunningham at the beginning of the season via the draft, but Troy Weaver kind of warned us ahead of time that he didn't expect him to be kind of the savior of the franchise. He was kind of just, the second step after he had that successful draft class last year. The issue with the Pistons right now is that the team is very, very young. They don't have a lot of veterans around them to kind of help build them up and put them in a position of success like they did last year. They don't have Derrick Rose, they don't have Blake Griffin, they don't have DeLon Wright. So a lot of those veterans were, as well as Mason Plumlee, I can't believe I forgot him. Yeah. But they don't have those veterans who were a big part of what kept them competitive in games last season. I mean, yes, they lost a lot, but the difference was they were competitive. I think now that we've kind of turned the page to the new year, we're kind of starting to see that competitive, spunky team that, you know, people expected them to be at the beginning of the season. They've had wins over the reigning champs, the Milwaukee Bucks, at the beginning of the month. Yeah. They had wins over the Utah Jazz, where they came back from a 22-point deficit. And obviously, both the Jazz and the Bucks are teams that are going to be contending for the championship. So the fact that the Pistons were able to go ahead and, you know, have pretty decisive wins over those teams, I think it's a good start for, you know, what people, you know, should expect going forward.
And so you talk about some of the impact of some of those veterans that obviously last year played a key role on the Pistons team and them being competitive but still losing a lot of these games as was expected. This year, a little bit of the injury bug has had an impact, certainly in the front court. Kelly Olynyk has been injured on and off this season, just came back from a knee injury before that Western Conference trip and played pretty well, but he's also gone through other health protocols. How significant is that injury, both for Kelly and his play and for the Pistons going forward this season, especially with most of their depth being in those wing positions or at the guard position?
I mean, I think you can look at that Sacramento Kings game and you can already pinpoint the kind of impact that Kelly Olynyk is going to have on this team. He's going to space the floor. He's a stabilizing presence. He is able to get inside the paint, drive through contact, get points on the board. So I think, you know, you can already see the impact that he already had. I mean, in those first 10 games, he was already a stabilizing presence off of the bench. So he's very invaluable to this team. And, you know, you can expect that they're going to have a lot of value for him going forward once he clears, you know, the health and safety protocols. Obviously, that was kind of a lick of bad luck right there, coming back from the knee injury, then entering protocols almost, you know, shortly after. But I think once he's back, you know, people are going to really see how big of an impact he has, not just in terms of spacing the floor, but just from a mental standpoint with a lot of those rookies and second-year players.
Yeah, Kelly Olynyk been a key player for the Pistons, veteran, but still a relatively young veteran too that could be around for a while, barring any sort of a trade at the trade deadline. Although I wouldn't imagine, unless they're bringing in a significant piece in return for someone like him and for Jeremy Grant, that he would be involved in that. But let's talk at that point about Jeremy Grant. The trade deadline's coming up in a couple of weeks. This year it's on February 10th. Obviously, Jeremy Grant's somebody that a lot of teams are coveting, particularly contenders looking to add that one more piece that is at a relatively affordable salary, but can provide great production for that team. We've already heard some rumors about the Philadelphia 76ers engaging their interests. We've heard more recently that the Los Angeles Lakers allegedly had made an offer for Jeremy Grant. At this point in time, from your conversations with the Pistons front office, with their coaching staff, how much of an interest is there in the Pistons organization to explore potentially moving Jeremy Grant, given where he is in his contract with the team, the production that he's having, and the potential haul that could come back and help to catapult this rebuild?
I think one thing that's kind of stuck out to me, especially, you know, following last year's trade deadline, Troy Weaver said no player is untouchable. So right now, Jeremy is commanding probably the most value that he might have in his stint with the Pistons. Right now, it seems as though they're just kind of entertaining offers. There isn't anything that's kind of stuck out to them. And I think a lot of the chatter that we've heard has been just that. It's been chatter. If there was a viable option out there, you better believe that Troy Weaver probably would have pulled the trigger and made the deal. You saw that he did that with Rodney McGruder in the Bobo trade. Of course, that one fell through, you know, during Bobo's physical, but you know, he's not afraid to make the right decision when the time comes. And if a team comes with an offer that he deems is worthy of Jeremy's value, then I'm sure he would go ahead and make that deal.
Yeah, Jeremy Grant currently making $20 million. Next year, he'll make just a little bit shy of $21 million. So he has another year on his contract. That's a plus for a team that's looking to bring him in and contend this year, but also have the potential to have that depth next year if they're going to be contending for a while and they want to have those extra pieces or add some strength to their lineup. But certainly, if they're going to be moving Jeremy Grant, they'll be looking for a draft pick, particularly or preferably a relatively high draft pick that's at or near lottery level, and if not, and maybe some young pieces too. Probably, well, they're going to have to get to cover the salary cap in those trades. But if you're the Pistons in that perspective, if you're moving Jeremy Grant, a guy that's been so key to this team, and is still relatively young, and still has a lot of basketball to play ahead of him, could be really a huge part of this rebuild. If he does stick around, there's got to be a big haul that's coming back, and the Pistons, I think, would be content to keep him on that team unless they're getting something back that is significant. But for these contending teams, a lot of them, they don't have that additional depth to be able to provide, particularly those young players or those draft picks that are going to be really enticing enough for the Pistons. So for a contender that's looking to pick up Jeremy Grant, a Philadelphia team, a team like the Los Angeles Lakers or other teams that we've heard rumored to be interested in Jeremy at this time, what do you believe it would take for the Pistons to be truly interested and engage in those offers, or maybe even pull the trigger on a Jeremy Grant trade?
I mean, I think you kind of touched on it already. It would have to be a pick that would bring them back some significant return down the line. I mean, it's a huge gamble to say move on from Jeremy Grant, as you said, who's, been incredibly efficient for them thus far this season. Obviously, he's been out with injuries so far, but in terms of them getting something back, it would definitely have to be something in the first round, as well as likely some, as you said, up-and-coming young players who can, fill out the roster in Jeremy's place.
Yeah, Jeremy Grant had a career year with the Pistons last year. This year, 20 points per game. His current average, shooting 41% from the field, 33% from three. Also higher on his averages for the majority of his career. We're joined by Lauren Williams, Pistons beat writer at MLive.com, joining us on the Megacast. As you mentioned earlier, despite the Pistons' struggles, we're seeing some really great play of late, especially from first overall pick and rookie Cade Cunningham, who, as you said, Dwayne Casey, head coach of the Pistons, has said doesn't see as the savior of this team. It's not the kind of guy that you're going to bring in year one, where he has the potential to be a generational talent, but he's not one of those guys that's coming in and is immediately that generational talent that takes a team that's one of the three worst in the league record-wise a year ago and catapults them into a playoff team or into a contending team. That being said, despite the injuries early on in the season and his struggles early on in the season, he's really coming into his own. 16 points a game, roughly 40% from the field, not turning the ball over that much, averaging about 4 per game. From what the Pistons are seeing right now, how satisfied are they with Cade Cunningham's pretty rapid development into a significant leader on this team as they're looking to the future, and how does that impact where they plan going forward in this rebuild?
I think they're incredibly happy with how fast Cade has progressed in terms of developing. I think one of the biggest things that they want to see him cut down on is those turnovers. I mean, 4 turnovers per game, it's not the worst in the league, especially considering he is a young ball handler. And you look at guys like Trae Young and James Harden, and they have higher turnover rates than he does. But, when you have a team that as a whole is averaging about 15 turnovers per game, you kind of want your young ball handler to kind of be a little bit more secure with that. On Sunday night, he had 6 turnovers, and, that's kind of part of what lost them the ball game there. Just because even though it was Kojo and Sadiq at the end of that game who really highlighted how bad the Pistons' lack of ball security has been, they want that guy who's their leader to be a little bit safer, a little bit smarter with the decisions that he makes when he's driving into the paint or the passes that he's making. But overall, I think the Pistons, because they're in a restoration point, they don't really have the luxury of, being a little too picky with where they go next. I think when it comes to the draft, they're going to pick the best player available wherever they land.
Yeah, and right now second worst record in the league, behind the Orlando Magic. Certainly, they're going to be in the draft lottery when all is said and done. How high or middle or low in that draft lottery that they're going to be will be determined by the second half of the season. But regardless, they're going to get a high-level talent or be able to be in a position for one in this draft. And they got a lot of questions that they'll be able to answer because of the depth of this draft and because of the depth of their needs. They're pretty satisfied, of course, they're satisfied with Cade Cunningham. Beef Stew's had a consistently satisfying performance over this year. It was great in his rookie season as well. Sadiq Bey continues to make massive improvements, and so for them, it's looking really in the future. Like those next big questions they need to answer are what additional front court help can we provide to put that second guy next to Isaiah Stewart, or in the backcourt. With the current turnover issues with Cade Cunningham lately, and with his style of play, is he our shooting guard? Is he our point guard of the future? And certainly Killian Hayes is going to play a big factor into there. He came off the bench against Denver, seemed to play pretty well. Do you think that may be something that the Pistons explore more in the future, is having Killian Hayes not so much be that point guard of the future or that shooting guard of the future, but be that key player, that key young player off the bench that really is the anchor of that second unit?
I think it very much, as you said, depends on what the second half of the season brings. Right now, one of the things that they've really wanted to see Killian hone in on is being a little bit more aggressive with getting to the paint. He's a 6'5" guard, and there are a lot of smaller guards in the league that he can go up against. I mean, he can take advantage of some of the mismatches in the paint with the bigs just because of his size, and he would probably get the favorable call if he tried to attack the rim. So I think they want to see him be a little bit more aggressive in his scoring, not necessarily shooting, but his scoring. I also think he did, as you said, really, really well coming off of the bench, and that might be the best solution for him. I know in the past, Dwayne Casey has said that one of the things that he thought was a disservice was putting Killian as a starting point guard at the beginning of last season. And, with each passing game, I think it's becoming more and more clear that maybe he is better suited coming off of the bench. So I think it'll depend on what happens in the second half of the season. I think they really like the three-guard lineup, and they liked what they saw with Cade, Killian, and Corey Joseph playing together. I know Dwayne Casey's a big fan of that because it just creates a lot more opportunity for the ball to move more freely. So I think it'll just depend on what rotations, what lineups work best.
And so, Lauren, we're joined by Lauren Williams, Pistons beat writer at MLive.com. You can learn more by going to MLive.com/Pistons and read all of Lauren's articles and follow along with the Pistons as they continue through this season and through this rebuild. All implications that we've spoken about the draft, the remainder of the season, the continued development of these young guys. Pistons continue to be in this rebuild. They got that core mostly in place, barring the next players they'll bring in, presumably through the draft and what happens with potentially Jeremy Grant if he is on the move as well. But in taking that next step in the rebuild, there's a point in every rebuild, in the NBA certainly, but in really all sports, where the front office hits the gas and they go full throttle at it, and they really try to make that team take a big step forward and try to contend. Where along the lines is this Pistons rebuild right now before we hit that point? Are we approaching that? Could this summer be that point with the cap space that they have, with the young assets that they have, with a potential high lottery pick coming in once again? Or are we still a year or two away, in your eyes, from the Pistons being at the point where they're ready to go full throttle at this?
In my opinion, I think that the year 4 of the rebuild will be kind of when they go full throttle. I think, they're still going to take their swings in free agency this season, this off season, just to kind of see what's out there, what they can get, and how it fits with the timeline that they're trying to reach the championships. I think because they have another lottery pick coming up, it's going to be really important for next season to be that development year for that lottery pick. Obviously, Cade and, the 2020 draft picks will have a lot more experience under their belts, so that should aid in the development of that pick faster. So I think year 4 is kind of when you're going to see them put the foot on the gas. I mean, that's just my opinion based on the pace that we've kind of seen Troy Weaver move and how he's made his move. I mean, he kind of ripped everything out from the studs last offseason. So it's going to take some time, especially when you look at teams like the Suns, who, you know, it took them a couple of lottery picks before they've kind of started to contend again. You look at the Bucks and how long it took them before they were in contention. You look at the 76ers and how long it took them before, you know, how many number 1 picks it took before they started competing in the playoffs. So I think, you know, there are a lot of teams around the league that you can kind of look at as a blueprint in terms of how long the Pistons potentially see this rebuild going. But in my opinion, I think year 4 is when we're going to see them start to put their foot on the gas. I think if a trade with Jeremy Grant does end up happening before the deadline or at the deadline this year, I think that does signal kind of where Troy Weaver's head is in terms of the direction that he wants to go. So I think that's kind of the start of the turning point, but not quite the full turning point, if that makes any sense.
It does, and so it'll be very interesting as we approach February 10th. That's kind of that next checkpoint where we'll see where this direction with the Pistons continues to be pointing, generally going in the same direction, and it's clear where they're going, but trade deadline, the Jeremy Grant situation, going to be critical to that. Then the next step would be the draft and the offseason. Lauren, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit, or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council,
we work together to protect water resources for everyone.
Most of the pollution entering our rivers is carried by rainwater that runs off roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
A rain garden helps catch stormwater runoff.
Rain gardens and their plants help dirty runoff soak into the ground.
You can do your part to help keep our water clean.
Learn about rain gardens and native plants.
So consider a rain garden in your home landscaping.
Catch the runoff with a rain garden.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you.
Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation.
Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. You can learn more about everywhere that we broadcast live and find us on demand at civiccentertv.com/megacast. Joining us now is Tomcsik Husak, the president and CEO of the Troy Chamber of Commerce, back with us on the Megacast. Tara, thank you for being with us.
Yeah, good to see you guys again.
Appreciate having you on. So how are things going over in Troy and with that business community? Because where we're at in the COVID-19 pandemic is kind of an interesting spot. As businesses were coming back into somewhat regular form, as were customers coming back more regularly into a lot of our businesses, and then the Omicron variant comes into play and kind of shakes things up. And it's very similar in some ways to where we began this pandemic, and in other ways, very much a blend of the past and the present.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that sounds about right. The reality is that every day has become a new challenge. Now, with that being said, I would say most of our businesses have still been really resilient in that aspect. So they're just keeping safety at the forefront, but they're running business as usual. So it's nice to see more people still coming into the office, but we're still seeing an increase in safety precautions as well. So it's one of those things. It's just one giant circle, and every day is new, and we have to just figure out how to help our members.
And one of the ongoing concerns of businesses across the board in Michigan and throughout the U.S. has been staffing over the last several months, really over the last year, as businesses have began to reopen, as some of those regulations and restrictions that were in place were lifted, and these companies needed to refill those positions that were emptied earlier on in the pandemic from furloughs or layoffs, or whatever the case may be, or to replace those that moved on to other jobs or other careers altogether. In Troy, how are our businesses faring in filling some of those job openings at this time as the job market's kind of fluctuated between people taking these jobs and people being more hesitant to take these jobs?
You know, it goes both ways. What I will say is Troy is lucky. We are absolutely having a staffing issue. That is not something I'm going to gloss over. But what I will say is that we're also surrounded by some of the best staffing companies in the area. So Troy is actually home to so many of them, and we have so many members who work to help people find their staffs. So these recruitment firms have been really helpful. I will say, from an advice standpoint, if you are struggling to find staff, that is something to be paying attention to. Look at these recruitment firms. In addition, we actually started and launched our jobs board last year. And so now we're actually working with our members to promote their jobs that are going out. So we're promoting jobs that are available on social media, in our Monday e-newsletter, things of that nature. So we opened it up for our members to post jobs for free. And we've actually filled quite a few jobs. So we're doing pretty good with that category and really trying to push that initiative forward.
We're joined by Tomcsik Husak. She is the president and CEO of the Troy Chamber of Commerce, joining us on the Megacast. And so with all these changes that are constantly happening, and these businesses need to be able to balance, of course, the need for safety protocols to be in place to keep their employees safe, to keep their customers safe, to keep the community safe, but also the constant change that we've been experiencing over these 2 years plus almost of this pandemic. What sort of advice or what sort of guidance is being provided by the Chamber for these businesses to help them continue to navigate these constant changes, but also ready themselves to when things do clear up eventually and we create whatever normal is going to be in the post-pandemic world, that they can hit the gas right away and start to really emphasize that momentum?
Yeah, I mean, we stay abreast of everything. So when a lot of it, while we're talking about staffing and we're talking about some of these resources, our businesses sometimes are struggling they're used to seeing face-to-face meetings. They're used to being able to go out there. And we've opened up more. Like we said, we've increased our safety precautions, but we're doing in-person events again. We're still allowing networking to happen, but we're doing it safely. In addition, we spend a lot of time, I can tell you, every weekend. All I'm doing is researching new grant fundings, new things that we can help not only our businesses, but some of our nonprofit industries. And then we're actually, as we're going through it, if we see something that fits some of our members, we email it to them. Because as we know, if you have no staff and you're struggling with that, you don't have that extra time to see what are the resources available. So we're kind of utilizing our time to make sure we can get those resources directly to our members instead of them having to hunt it down.
We're joined by Tomcsik Husak, the president and CEO of the Troy Chamber of Commerce, joining us on the Megacast. And so we're just about out of the month of January, and some exciting events coming up in February through the Chamber of Commerce there in Troy. On the 24th, the Chamber will be putting on a virtual version of its Business Excellence Awards presented by the Children's Hospital of Michigan. So tell us about these awards. It's still possible to submit nominations for businesses or for individuals for the awards coming up in February.
So there's the nominations are closed. We're actually really excited. So we actually started the voting process last week. We already have almost 4,000 votes that have already come in. We have 12 categories, and thanks to our presenting sponsor, Children's Hospital of Michigan, we couldn't have done it without them. And then each of our awards also has a sponsor that helped dedicate to make sure that this event could actually happen. But we had over 90 nominees, and the votes are just piling in. And it's great because I think everyone has had a rough year of some sort. We still have to remember we need to celebrate the achievements and accomplishments of not only some of our business professionals, but some of the great work that our companies have been doing. And if you actually go to our website, you can take a look and read about all the great things that some of these members are doing, whether it be the Panda 1 team from Children's Hospital of Michigan. It's the helicopter that will go and immediately be able to get to these pediatric patients and bring them back to the hospital quickly and more efficiently. To the Detroit Zoo, at how they created this most innovative process of making sure that they could still meet and educate the younger generation through their vitamin Z program. So really good stuff. It's just really exciting to see all these people stepping up.
You can learn more about the Troy Chamber and about this upcoming event by visiting their website at troychamber.com. We're joined by the president and CEO of the Troy Chamber of Commerce, Tomcsik Husak, on the Megacast. And so for those that are interested in the Business Excellence Awards coming up on February 24th, now that the nominations are closed and voting has already begun, how can they participate if they'd like to join in on this event?
Sure. So it's actually a live stream event. We are going to be in a studio doing a recording, and it's going to be almost like watching the Oscars, but you can watch it directly on your laptop. So I would just say go to troychamber.com. Make sure you vote. Read the great things that our members are doing, because you can actually get a little blurb of each of the nominations so you can understand all the great things that are happening in the community. Vote for some of these great business professionals, and then also make sure you're shopping local and supporting your local businesses. We have so many sponsors who have helped to sponsor some of these awards and these events. Make sure you're looking at their businesses as well, because as we know, they're the ones giving back to the community. We should be paying attention to them as well.
We're joined by Tomcsik Husak, the president and CEO of the Troy Chamber of Commerce. Again, all that information on how you can vote and how you can learn more about some of these great businesses doing great things in Troy and the surrounding area by visiting their website at troychamber.com. And so as we've endured so many of these changes throughout the pandemic, of course, unfortunately, we've lost a lot of our local businesses, but a lot of other businesses have arisen from those ashes as well, and as people have transitioned into different career paths or have decided to take the plunge and begin their business as well. What are some of the more exciting or notable businesses that have sprung up in Troy of late that you can tell us about?
So what actually is not necessarily sprung up, it's kind of the creation, and it's actually one of our nominees. And Cadillac Automotive Products, so Cadillac Products, they worked in automotive components. And there's a really great story about how the CEO's niece actually came up and during the pandemic and said, a lot of us nurses were wearing garbage bags right now. So obviously that was a problem. So she actually was asking, hey, can we get some garbage bags so we can wear this to protect ourselves in the hospital? Now, that is just mind-blowing that this happened early in the pandemic. Well, they saw this, listened to it, and said, well, no, absolutely not. We are not going to give you garbage bags. What we're going to do is we're going to create the product you need right here in Troy, Michigan. So Cadillac Products teamed up and they started creating PPE gowns for these nurses to wear, where we didn't have to worry about supply chain management of having it come from China or overseas. It was directly here in Troy, Michigan. And that's some of the great success stories. So as we have a company that is listening to a need, they actually built, now they're doing this as another part of their company, and they're building this product. And to me, I find it so inspiring to hear when you hear businesses listening to what the real need is and actually being able to pivot and build a brand new business around it. And actually Mike Williams, who is the CEO of that sector, he's actually going to be our CEO speaker and talk to us about some of those great initiatives and how that all worked out together. And that's going to actually be in March as well. But it's success stories like that. It's showing our businesses and showcasing all the great things that they're doing. And we hear these stories every day.
We're joined by Troy Chamber of Commerce President and CEO Tara Tomcsik Husak on the Megacast. You can learn more information about the Chamber as well as access a number of its great resources by visiting their website at troychamber.com. Tara, just another couple minutes with you. Anything else that we should be keeping in mind about the Troy business community at this time, or other exciting news and information we haven't spoken about today just yet?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I would just say if you're not a member of a chamber, you should join. If you're a business, there is no greater time, because as we're seeing businesses, there's a new hurdle every day. Let us help you. Let us be that resource. Let us help you connect. That's our job, and that's what we're here for. And again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us. We're always here.
Tara, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Again, you can learn more information by visiting the Troy Chamber of Commerce's website at troychamber.com. We're going to take a break. On the other side, we'll talk about an organization that formed in 2008 to help address the needs of the rapidly growing aging population here in southeastern Michigan, where we originate our broadcast. Kristie King, the association executive of the Senior Regional Collaborative of Southeast Michigan, will join us next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit, or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanted to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners, working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is the source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line, for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
To Sophia and Gabriel, even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
72.7% of high school students get less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. This can cause pain, obesity, and can very negatively affect your mental health. When you have a consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day, you get sick less often, lose more weight, and have better relationships with those around you. For more information about the dangers of sleep deprivation, go to sleepfoundation.org. This message is brought to you by the WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes, they stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. You can learn more about every winter we broadcast live and live to tape, and find all of our episodes and each individual interview on demand by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast. Joining us now is Kristie King, the Association Executive of the Senior Regional Collaborative of Southeast Michigan on the Megacast. Kristie, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Appreciate having you on, and glad to have you here. Tell us a little bit about the Senior Regional Collaborative of Southeast Michigan and some of its goals and the ways that it helps to serve our aging community here in Southeast Michigan.
Absolutely. So the Senior Regional Collaborative, that's more our affectionate name. We are the Southeast Michigan Senior Regional Collaborative, often just known as the SRC. We've been around since 2008. We were established to address the ever-growing needs of the aging population, understanding that here in Michigan, over 26% of the population are older adults, and even to think on a broader basis that in the country itself, Michigan stands 14 with older adults over the age of 65. And so knowing that a group of nonprofit organizations came together in 2008 to really look at and to begin to think about what are the needs as we continue to grow forward. So really thinking of a collective framework around advocacy and diversity and inclusion, awareness and actions in support of issues affecting the safety and care of our older adults, making sure that they have a good quality of life. So really the SRC is a think tank. We're that collective think tank of organizations that come together. And even better than that, in 2016, we became a nonprofit organization. And so we serve as a nonprofit association. We have government entities, as well as our nonprofits, as well as volunteers that come in to support the initiatives of the SRC, which can be from leadership and training development, providing a huge amount of networking opportunities, resources, which has meant for us to write grants together, provide funding, other tangible opportunities where we've provided tablets to some of the organizations for some of their participants that actually come into their own programs. So the SRC itself, we are not a direct service provider, but we support all of those direct service providers to provide those pieces to our older adults here in the Detroit metropolitan area and beyond.
We're joined by Kristie King, the Association Executive of the Senior Regional Collaborative of Southeast Michigan, joining us on the Megacast. And so this organization was established in 2008. It's about 14 years ago at this time, to address in advance the growing needs and the future needs of our aging population here in Southeast Michigan. And with that in mind, now that we're 14 years later, how has that mission sort of modified and changed? As that population 14 years ago, maybe at the point now where some of those services that were being discussed upon or being researched in terms of what the needs were back in 2008, that may be those needs coming to fruition now and in the near future as well for others in that generation, or even on the entry point of the next generation behind them needing those services as well. How's that changed the goals and the mission of your organization over this time period?
So one thing that's been important to us is making sure that we stay mission driven and making sure that we continue through our programs and services to support the quality of life of our older adults within the agencies that are actually part of the SRC. So as far as it changing, I want to say we have grown. We've grown and really looked more deeply at what needs to be offered, figured out better ways for ourselves to come together so that these aging service providers, so that they are not working in silos, but they figured out how to work even better collectively together to really think about some integrated care systems. How do we work collectively to make sure that we're talking to one another? And so we're working on larger projects with entities such as the United Way of Southeast Michigan, and even with the University of Michigan, CHART, doing some things that really look at a global basis around the social determinants of health. How do we best serve? What are the needs? How do we make sure that the older adults are being self-sufficient? So we have tools in place. One of our big tools is our Quality Aging Matrix, which is a tool that really looks at self-sufficiency really within our older adult population. We know that our older adults, they may not be self-sufficient. It's going to look different. But what we want to make sure is that they are able to have a good quality of life. What does that mean for them? And so this tool allows providers to look at certain categories such as physical activity or nutrition and things of the caregiving services, things of the sort, and really monitor and provide some hot spots for providers to say, we need to focus on nutrition, or we need to focus on caregiving services, and really monitor that senior along the way. So that's just one way that we've grown over the years, in addition to really making sure that we're supporting those aging service providers professionally. So providing professional development opportunities for their staff as well. We know a lot of entities may not be able to send their whole staff to a conference to learn some things. So that's what we do here through our Leadership and Training Institute as well. So we've been able to grow that portion of what we've done as well. We started out kind of small back in 2008 as far as just providing direct leadership training. We've been able to grow that, especially through COVID, into a virtual platform that we provided last year. I believe we provided 30 or more workshops and webinars to the community at large. So professional development, caregivers, as well as older adults in the community.
We're joined by Kristie King, the Association Executive of the Senior Regional Collaborative of Southeast Michigan, joining us on the Megacast. You can learn more information about the organization by visiting SEMISRC.org, SEMISRC.org for more information. And so what's one of the more critical elements of caring for our older population, for individuals and for families, is preparing for when those decisions may need to be made about our elder individuals, may need to be transitioned to either being between the individual themselves and a member of their family, or be transitioned entirely to somebody else in their family that's better equipped mentally and emotionally to make those decisions that sometimes can be very difficult. And to help bridge that gap, your organization's begun a new program called Elder Caring Coordination Program. Can you tell us about that program, kind of the purpose behind it, and some of the ways that it helps these families navigate these really tricky waters?
So absolutely. So we've been working, we were actually funded through the Michigan Health Endowment Fund to begin this pilot project around elder care. It's actually called Elder Caring Coordination. And we're working with the developers through the Association of Conflict Resolution. And what it is an alternative dispute resolution process for those high conflict families. And so those families that constantly may come back in front of judges to deal with the care and the safety of that older adult. And so elder caring coordination is really a process. Our coordinators, the elder caring coordinator, or we call them ECs, actually work with the family up to 2 years to really work through those pieces that have been difficult, those pieces that some families may be holding on to, just that conflict that really interferes with the overall health care and health and safety of that older adult that's involved. And so that elder caring coordinator really works to improve the communication among the family, manage all of those high conflict issues that pop up so that they're not going back to court, but that they develop those techniques and those skills within each other, within that family basis that will work to help resolve some of the issues. It also supports the aging person's self-determination. Oftentimes, because an older adult maybe felt that maybe they just can't do anything themselves, they often still have a voice. They also understand what's going on, and they experience that conflict that's felt within the conflict that's felt within the family. They experience that internally, which can also be critical to their health care. It promotes that long-term safety because that elder caring coordinator is there to monitor any at-risk situations and help make recommendations to that family. And it promotes really a support system for that aging individual as well as the family. So the family has someone to call. The older adult has someone to call, that third person that's there. And so we've really, we're excited. We've really been in the community over the past year, virtually, of course, organizing and educating about elder caring coordination, working with judges, working with attorneys, persons from Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Neighborhood Legal Services, Lakeshore Legal, other entities throughout the dispute resolution centers as well. So those entities that may deal with elder care, elder mediation, those legal pieces, this is another part to help refer so that it really, really releases and allows a family to be a family, to get rid of some of that conflict that's often felt and refocus on the senior at hand.
We're joined by Kristie King, Association Executive of the Senior Regional Collaborative of Southeast Michigan, joining us on the Megacast. You can learn more information by visiting their website at semisrc.org. And so if people want to find more information on the Elder Caring Coordinators Program or want to sign up either themselves or on behalf of a family member to help mediate these situations, how can they go about doing so to get help from what can be a very helpful service that your organization helps to guide?
Definitely a helpful service. And once again, we're very excited to be bringing this to the state of Michigan. We're actually 12th in the country to actually be bringing this. So this project developed out of Florida. And so right now they can look on our website, which you just gave, semisrc.org. There's a link under initiatives where they can see it'll say Elder Caring Coordination, and they can simply send us an email there, or they can contact us at 888-341-8593 to find out more information and to become involved in this project, because we still need community involvement.
Again, that phone number for those of you interested is 1-888-341-8593, 1-888-341-8593. Kristie, your organization has also a lot of great events and other programs that are occurring throughout the year. What's coming up here in 2022 as we continue on out of the first month of the year and into the second month and ongoing?
Absolutely. We'll be rounding out the month of January with Medicare 101. So that will be on Monday, and that is from 12 to 1:30. So really giving people an opportunity to learn more about Medicare, Medicare Advantage, and how to apply those to situations where they're older adult. We also have a workshop coming up in February. We have a series entitled Practical Approaches to Dementia. and that'll be February 3rd, February 10th, and February 12th at 12 noon. And so that is a series. Maybe you can't join us for all three, but feel free to drop in to any one of those. We also are preparing for our exciting Money Smart event, which will take place on April 20th from 10 to 12, providing a lot of financial literacy resources to the community at large. We're actually going to do this event a little bit different this year. We usually do it one day. We are actually going to do it throughout the month of April. And so please go to our website and find out more information. We'll be finishing the year out in our last quarter with a conference this year. We haven't done a conference in a while, and so we are excited to be able to provide this opportunity for the community at large. We are partnering with Urban Aging News, in addition to Bridging Communities and Neighborhood Legal Services, to bring this conference in November of this year. And so if anyone wants information, as you've mentioned, you can go to our website. You simply click a link and you will be connected to all of these workshops and webinars, and even see beyond what we're doing for the entire year. There's a calendar there you can see. Or if you're interested in presenting, you can also contact us there as well, and we can have conversations around what that could look like.
Kristie, just another couple minutes with you before we'll have to say goodbye today. Anything else at this time that would be important for our audience to know about your organization, or any other subjects that we should be keeping in mind going forward so we can help our local aging population?
Absolutely. Please feel free to contact us as well to volunteer. Volunteering is very important to all of our activities, through our committees, to get the work done, to making sure that we're getting the word out about aging services and the things that are needed in the community. So feel free to connect with the SRC at any time, volunteer with us, and I think that's about it. Remember, we are Senior Strong.
Well, Kristie, thank you very much for joining us and telling us more about all the great things that your organization does to help families and to help, of course, our aging population as they navigate some very complicated topics that are critical for their quality of life going forward.
Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate your time. Again, you can learn more information and get in contact with the Senior Regional Collaborative of Southeast Michigan by visiting their website at semisrc.org. That is semisrc.org, which will give you information about membership with the organization, some of their upcoming events, and those initiatives such as the Elder Caring Coordination Program. Again, semisrc.org. Or you can go to sharedetroit.org, where it is listed as one of their now 269 supported charities and nonprofits supporting the local community here in southeastern Michigan. That is going to do it for today's edition of the show. I want to thank you for tuning in, and thank all of our guests for joining us on today's edition of the Megacast, including Kristie King, the Association Executive of the Senior Regional Collaborative of Southeastern Michigan, Tomcsik Husak, the President and CEO of the Troy Chamber of Commerce, MLive Media Group Pistons beat writer Lauren Williams for joining us and talking about the struggling but rebuilding and hopeful Detroit Pistons, Damany Head, the Chair of the Pontiac Regional Chamber, as well, for joining us, and of course Anna Sterner, the Director of Programs at the Michigan Science Center, for telling us about their exciting programming that's upcoming, as well as that fun experiment that she did that told us a little bit more about, and gave us a little more of an inside look at some of the science that goes into operating the Winter Olympics, which will begin in just a few days out in Beijing, China. You can learn more about our show, find all of our content on our website at civiccentertv.com by clicking on our Megacast link. There we have additional links that will take you to the websites of every single one of our partnering community television and radio stations, as well as web outlets, so you can join them for their other programming in the other 22 hours of the day that they are not live with us, and learn more information about their other original programs as well, and keep up to date with what's going on in your community with your community networks. You can also find all of our full shows and each individual interview on demand on our Megacast page as well, so you can keep up with us even if you're not able to join us each and every day, Monday through Friday from 10 to noon for our live shows, or join us for live to tape on places like Orion Neighborhood Television at 1 p.m. in the afternoon, or throughout the evening for replays. You can go to our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast, and find everything from our show in one single spot. Also on our website at civiccentertv.com, we have a coronavirus page. Highly encourage you to go there to stay up to date on information regarding COVID-19 as things continue to change and things continue to vary over the next several months as we continue through this pandemic with resources from the CDC, the MDHHS, and the Oakland County Health Division. CivicCenterTV.com/coronavirus, where we also post articles every day to keep you up to date on what's making headlines here in the state of Michigan. Big thank you to our crew, our technical director, Calvin Brown, for being in the studio with me each and every day from 10 a.m. to 12 noon for our live shows. Jared Clark, our Zoom producer, out in the Troy office of My Michigan TV, helping all of our guests get connected and get ready to be interviewed. The king of television himself, Larry Nyland, for booking all of these guests and helping both them and us get ready. And Maddie Muschin out at Master Control, helping us on and off the air. On My Michigan TV, Steve Leto Live is coming up next. We'll return Monday at 10 a.m.